Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for February 7th, 2024. What if everything you've been told about the war in Ukraine, the NATO proxy war against Russia, has been a lie? That for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, since February 2022, you've been fed misinformation, disinformation, had your news censored, all in the intent to keep this war going. What are some of these stories that you've been told? That Putin's special military operation launched in February 2022 was unprovoked. That Russia planned to take over Kiev but was stopped by the courageous Ukrainian army. That if Putin is not stopped in Ukraine, Germany or Finland or the Baltic states or Sweden or Poland will be next. That NATO must be prepared for war with Russia in 3 years, in 5 years, in 7 years, that Putin intends to restore the Soviet empire, that the hundreds of billions of taxpayers' money poured into the military-industrial complex and into the pockets of the greedy kleptocrats of Ukraine was a, quote, good investment because it will weaken Russia, unquote, that sanctions will collapse Russia and the Russian people will rise up, that the counteroffensive of Ukraine will succeed. All of these stories and many, many more have been put out through the mainstream media in the West nonstop. And it didn't start in 2022, but it goes back to the time of the disintegration of the Soviet Empire of 1991. And the fact that the intent of NATO has been to expand eastward, to break apart Russia, and that Russia has been reacting defensively, and by the way, with a certain amount of restraint in the face of what were aggressive offensive attacks on it and its national security. Now, many of these lies have their origin in London, and over my shoulder you can see a book which is by one of the leading liars, a fellow at Chatham House, which is British intelligence, named Keir Giles, Russia's War on Everybody. And what he says about Putin and Russia in the book, if you read it, virtually every sentence he has an attack on Putin, that he's a liar, that he's corrupt, that he's a brutal dictator, he's a killer, he violates international law. Virtually every charge he makes is actually true about the Anglo-American order which he's defending. The hypocrisy here itself is incredible. But it's not hypocrisy just as an academic concept, but to cause you to support wars that are permanent and that are damaging and affecting the lives of people on the planet. Now, there's a potential to change this. We've been reporting the truth for a long time and taking on the people such as Giles and Chatham House and the Atlantic Council, the paid prostitutes or prostitutes, as some say, of the military-industrial financial complex. But there's an interesting development which occurred in the last couple of days. That is, yesterday, Tucker Carlson announced that he's in Moscow to interview Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, he makes a point that it's interesting that in the course of this entire period, no Western journalist has interviewed Putin. That what we're given is snippets, bits and pieces of the many, many public statements and articles that have been produced by Putin, explaining what Russia's intent is, what his goal is, why they're doing this. And none of that has been made public. If it is made public, it's made by people like Giles who say this is more of Putin's lies. But what Carlson said in his announcement yesterday is that the entire world system is being wholly transformed and the truth about the nature of the transformation is being withheld from the public. Of course, that's what we've been saying for a long time, and it's demonstrably true that that's the case. Carlson went on to say the war in Ukraine and the sanctions have upended the entire world economic and financial system. The post-World War II order is coming apart, he said, and most Americans have no idea of what's really going on. But these developments will shape the future for a long time to come for our children and grandchildren. But you're being manipulated by the lies under the media bubble, lies which serve the interests of the oligarchs who themselves control the military, industrial, financial complex and the media complex. So Carlson said he decided he must interview the Russian leader. And he said that he wanted to do this before, but the Biden administration wouldn't let it happen. But he decided to go to Moscow anyway. Now, there's been a media frenzy over this for obvious reasons. You have the anti-Tucker Carlson crowd, those who are the defenders of the hypocrites like Blinken, the puppet Biden, that don't want this story to get out, just as they're suppressing the actual story of what's going on in Gaza, the actual story of Israel as a settler colonial country, which is intent on ethnic cleansing. That story hasn't been told. Maybe at some point Carlson will do a story on that. But it's important that he intends to do this and give the American people a chance to hear from Putin himself, unedited, what his actual policy is. Now, Carlson said the entire interview will be shot to tape and unedited and will be available for free on Tucker Carlson's website. And he thanked Musk for guaranteeing that the interview will not be suppressed or blocked once Carlson posts it on the X platform. So this is an opportunity. I'm not a defender of everything Tucker Carlson says, but I think this is a bold initiative to break through the media containment of the truth, because it's the truth that itself is what is subversive, and the ability to suppress the truth, which is the purpose of the cyber warfare, the social media efforts. Look, we see it in terms of what I've been presenting. My daily video updates for a while had 35,000 to 50,000 views daily on Facebook. Now it's down to 2,000 or less. How did that happen? Did the tens of thousands of regular watchers suddenly decide they don't agree with us? No, there's a suppression. And it's something that the LaRouche movement has faced for a long time. For a variety of reasons, Tucker Carlson is in a different situation and can get the story out. Now, I'm not saying you should take everything Putin says for verbatim. What's important is that you get to hear what he says. And that he tried for many years to stop the killing by Ukrainian Nazis of the Russian ethnic population in eastern Ukraine. That the coup in 2014 was a NATO coup run by the Obama administration with Joe Biden in charge of it, Victoria Nuland and others. For what purpose? To move to break apart Russia, which was seen as a threat. Why? Because Putin had reasserted Russian sovereignty. He'd taken back the Russian raw materials to serve the interests of the Russian people, as a leader of a sovereign nation must do. But you're not supposed to know about this. What you're supposed to get is a cartoonish characterization of a brutal liar committed to carrying out war for the purposes of building an empire. Well, in fact, that's what the West has been doing since the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So maybe this is a step toward breaking the containment and giving people an opportunity to think for themselves instead of being handed your opinion by the likes of Keir Giles and his confederates at Chatham House. So we'll see what Carlson has, what Putin says, if it will be allowed to be shown, and then we can move from there to take up the whole question of what is the actual basis for establishing a new security and development order. And that's something I'll be discussing with Helga Zepp-LaRouche today in our weekly interview. And I'd encourage you to watch that with the same attention that you'll devote to Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin. So I'll post the link to the dialogue with Helga Zepp-LaRouche for today on the description section, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Hello, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Support our independence to produce videos like these. Become a member of the LaRouche organization at thelarouche.org/member. By becoming a member for $25 or more, you'll get special access to the EIR Alert Daily Briefing and Weekly Magazine, which is what I read to stay on top of things.